Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Songbirds Crochet. And I am Margaret. So nice to see you here this beautiful Sunday morning. Good morning, Tank. Good morning, Lana. Thanks for popping in. Tank got the best seat in the house. She was the first in the door, so she gets the good seat. Nick, good morning. Good to see you. How are you feeling? I hope you're feeling better. Tank reminded me I needed to go get a refill on my coffee, so I now have a good full cup of coffee. Bit better, still sick though. I'm so sorry to hear that, Nick. I hope you get better soon. Well, eggs looks good, but I'll pass on the bacon. I don't do bacon. Good morning, Julianne. Good to see you. How are you doing? Hope you're having a good weekend. Melissa G's in the house. It's it's a little early over in your side of the world there, Julianne, so I can understand you still waking up. Actually, I did not wake up this morning until a little bit after 8. Good morning, Tammy. Good morning, Marianne. Good to see you guys. Good morning, Mandy. Yeah, Tank, I don't even season with it. We don't do pork in this house, so. And I'm not real fond of the turkey substitutes or the beef. They just, in all actuality, I can't even stand the smell of bacon anymore. So just as well to do without it. Baby time. Oh, congratulations. You're going to be an auntie. That's so cool. So, Mandy, have you made the baby anything? A nice blanket to wrap up and bring the baby home in, or? Oh, that's so cool, Mandy. That's awesome. Oh, that's nice. So you actually get to see the baby being born. Awesome. Okay, Marianne. Lurking is permitted. And just in case there's anybody else out there lurking, hello, welcome in. I appreciate you too. Everybody is welcome here, even if you're just going to lurk. I'm just continuing to work on my trio blanket this morning, if anybody's wondering. And as usual, my yarn is all twisted up. Baby girl, oh, how fun. So you'll be able to crochet lots of pretty little dresses and stuff for her. That's so cool. When I lived in Illinois, my neighbor that lived across the hall from me, it was kind of funny because we shared the same last name. So for some reason, the mail person would, well, I mean, they would always get our mail mixed up, having the same last name. But she had 3 boys, one right after the other. And then finally, she had a baby girl. She was so excited. And I had so much fun. I crocheted the ruffliest little blue cotton dress. And that thing, I didn't think I would ever get those rows of ruffles done. Oh my God, there were so many stitches. But it was beautiful when it was done. Unfortunately, I didn't take a picture of it. Even if I had taken a picture of it, I probably would have lost it by now because that would have been like 3 or 4 phones ago. So, oh wow. Well, you know, when I had my son, after my son was born, his dad and I started going back to the church that I had been going to when I was a kid. And for one of the first times that we were back to church, my son had started crying during the service, so I took him downstairs to check him and, check his diaper and maybe give him a bottle or whatever, quiet him down. And the minister's daughter came down and she said, "You just had him over at Sparrow Hospital, didn't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "I recognize his cry. I was in the hospital at the same time having my baby." So she and I were both in the same hospital within a day or so of each other having babies. Good morning, Amber. Welcome in. Glad you stopped by to say hello. Hope you enjoy your church. Have a great day with your kids and hubby. So I was sitting out on the porch earlier with my cup of coffee, as I like to do whenever the weather permits. And it's about 60 here this morning, so not a bad day to hang out on the porch with coffee. I always sit out there, hang out with the dog for a little while. He gets his morning treats. He is so funny. I buy these. There's a dog food company local to us, and they make these dog treats. They do like bones that are about 4 inches long. They make big ones, and I have bought the big ones, but he doesn't like those as well. which is kind of funny, seeing as he does like big bones. He just doesn't like those big dog treats. So I usually buy him the medium ones, and I give him a little bowl full every morning. But he has this thing where he thinks he has to play with them before he can eat them. So as soon as I throw one over to his side of the porch, he jumps up and he pounces around it and, kind of stands over it all four paws, looking like he's getting ready to go hunting, and barks at it. And it's like, Icy, shut up, just eat the treat. Well, until he's had the first few, he's got to play first. So he's a goofball. But while I was sitting out on the front porch, I noticed that my neighbor has, yeah, he does a Marianne and pounces, exactly. I noticed that my neighbor has 3 great big mushrooms growing in his front yard. And I hadn't noticed them up until today. I don't know if they just got really big overnight or what, but they are just these 3 huge mushrooms. And so I was chatting a little bit with Lana, and we got to talking about mushrooms. And so the mushrooms that he has in his yard across the street, I have no idea if they are edible. And I wouldn't even take the chance. Mushrooms are one of those iffy kind of things that you really need to know what you're doing before you go out and forage for mushrooms, because so many more of them are poison than are not. So, yeah, I don't really forage much for mushrooms. There are a few kinds that I absolutely know. Oh, I'm sorry that you're allergic to them. When I was a kid, we had a lot of acreage with woods on it, and we would get absolutely huge puffballs. I mean, I would get puffballs the size of my head. They were amazing. Once they started getting old, they were really fun to play football with. But I used to pick them and take them to my eighth grade science teacher, and he was just absolutely thrilled. He said, "You can bring me as many of those as you want to." He loved them. Tank, around here we can get pretty much the same kinds of mushrooms here. I have seen chicken of the woods, morels, and oyster mushrooms. But I would love to get some inoculated logs and grow some morels in my backyard. I think that would be just amazing, especially considering morels are usually no less than about $40 a pound. So yeah, I would love to get a hold of some morel spores and grow my own. $60 a pound now? Holy moly, I guess I haven't bought any in a while. Good grief. Well, then that just clinches it. I definitely need to get a log and grow my own. I can't pay any 60 a pound. Oh, holy moly. Last time I bought some, I bought some from a company called Forest Glory, and they were having like a buy one, get one free sale. So I got 2 little containers, and I think it cost me $48, but they lasted a little while. So yeah, inflation indeed. 60 a pound, that's a big leap. But yeah, I love to cook with morels. They go so good with a steak. Oh my gosh. Or in a quiche. They're pretty awesome. But one thing that talking about mushrooms brought to mind, there is a channel that I've started watching lately that I just really enjoy. Um, the gal that runs the channel is a black gal, kind of on the younger side, very quirky. She has her own fashion sense, and she is just really, really fun to watch. Good morning, Kim. Welcome in. Her channel name is Black Forager, and she does this video series. She does this series of shorts called One is Poison and One is a Snack. And she'll take two wild plants that look somewhat similar a lot of the time, and she will show you the plant, describe the stem, how it grows. If it's a fruit type thing, she'll describe the fruit. She'll describe the smell of the leaves, like if you crush the leaves. She'll describe what the smell is like. And then, you have to guess between the two plants which one is poison and which one is a snack. And I actually do pretty well on that. I've been foraging for a long time, ever since, well, I got really interested in it as a teenager, living where we lived in Michigan, on the old farm that we lived on. We had all kinds of wild stuff growing out there, not to mention all the fruit trees and grapes and everything else that had pretty much gone wild from not being cared for so many years. So, yeah, I was a forager even back then. But I really got really into it when I got into my 20s. And got serious about knowing what plants were good to eat, what plants had medicinal properties, and of course, if you're going to forage in the wild, you need to know what plants are poison too, because you don't want to kill yourself or anybody else just trying to fix a salad. Good morning, BB. So nice to see you here. Glad you stopped in. So, yeah, so if you guys get a chance, go check out Black Forager. Her channel is a lot of fun. Um, oh, yeah, yuck, Melissa. That doesn't sound like any fun. I do not like plants that are sticky messes. Speaking of sticky messes, I'm going to cut back my blackberry bushes this year. They have just gotten entirely too wild and are trying to take over the world, which is my backyard. So I am just going to cut them all back and give them a little chill time. Means I won't get fruit for a year, but I would rather get them under control a little bit. Yeah, they will take over quick, fast, and in a hurry. The kind that I got, they send out runners from the root, but they not only do that, if one of the cane arches over and the tip of the cane touches the ground, that will root. So you can end up with new plants going every which way. So yeah, I'm going to cut them back, and I'm going to try and get them caged this next year to where they don't arch over and touch the ground and make all the extra plants, because I really don't need that many blackberries. It's just my husband and I now. So now strawberries, I don't mind strawberries growing every which way because they're low to the ground and they don't have thorns. But every wizard way, I don't know what that is, Nick. But yeah, once this weather cools down, which should be this next week, we're finally going to have some 70s, and I'll be able to get outside and do some of the gardening work. Oh, which way? Oh, okay. All right, Nick. My brain is slow this morning still. I was up late last night watching Camille's live stream, so we kind of hung out a little bit late, which is okay. I always enjoy hanging out with her, but we have a good group. Well, Melissa, I'll tell you what, I can work all day in the yard, but I take lots of breaks. There's lots of sit down and drink a cup of water time out when I'm out there. I'm hoping that once this weather gets cooled down, I can get the hubby out there with me and do the changes to my raised bed that I want to do. Tank, yeah, I will be 64 this birthday, so I can definitely understand wanting to have some years back. I would not want to go back to my 20s unless I could know then what I know now. Tank, my birthday's on Halloween. Yep, spooky. My parents left candy in a jar on the doorstep with the note that said, "Gone to hospital to have baby, please take some." My mom said when they got home from the hospital, there was still a half a jar of candy left. So, yeah. I said that would only have happened in the 60s because nowadays the first kid that came along would empty the whole jar and probably throw the jar through your window and see what you had in the house. And their parents would probably let them. Although I will have to say, I do hand out candy here in my neighborhood, and for the most part, I would say that the kids in this area are pretty well behaved. Right, back when there was still an honor system. Exactly, Melissa. Yeah, there were all kinds of crazy scares back in the 70s and 80s. You couldn't give out apples anymore. You couldn't give out popcorn balls, anything homemade like that. Had to buy all that individually wrapped candy and stuff. It was, yeah. Well, in fact, people pretty much, that's influenced how we give out candy now, too. I mean, nobody gives out unwrapped stuff or apples or anything like that. Right, Tank? Yeah, we pretty much just went to making our own at home because, couldn't trust people anymore, which is really sad. Why anybody would want to do stuff like that on to kids, it's pretty horrible. Good morning, Lisa. I didn't see you sneak in. Melissa, that's pretty hilarious. Said anything like, my mom's thing was when she would bake a pie, she would give us a piece of pie and she'd eat the point off of it because she didn't want us to hurt ourselves on it. We were like, Mom, really? That, we're teenagers, that doesn't work anymore. Yes, well, if that's the best part, she needs to eat the points off her own piece, not ours. Yeah, I don't do much pie baking anymore with the hubby, trying to avoid sugar as much as possible. Um, in fact, today I got to remember to put on the list, I've got to get monk fruit. If I get some monk fruit, maybe I can bake something. My son's birthday is in November as well. In fact, when the year he was born on Thanksgiving. Yeah, when he was a kid, I used to tell him he was a turkey baby. Don't do the math. I was born in 61, so it was pretty easy to figure out mine too. And don't do the math. Wow, that's definitely a lot of October birthdays. Do you just have one big party in the month of October and make it cover all of them? Having that many birthday parties could get kind of pricey. It's one thing about having my birthday on Halloween. I always knew there was a party somewhere, and I didn't have to have it. Oh, well, Kim, can always try. Ooh, yarn fuzz, making my nose itch. It's the only bad thing about working with fuzzy yarns. So another channel I was going to tell you guys about that I've been watching before, and I know I probably mentioned him before, but the channel name is Fiasco de Gama, and he travels around. He's an Australian guy, older Australian guy, and he travels around different countries and basically just walks around the streets of whatever city, village, whatever he's in, and just stops and talks to people and tries out the food and, the local beers and what have you. Um, and he kind of gives you ideas of how much stuff runs because I mean, he basically lives doing this. He's retired, so he just uses his pension money and travels around the world. Um, and his channel's really cool because he doesn't go to the normal tourist spots. He in fact he avoids tourist spots like the plague. He likes to go and see the real life in the area that he's in and talk to the real people. So his channel is pretty interesting. The one he does pretty much a daily blog, and the one he did yesterday, he's in Bangkok, Thailand right now, and yesterday his blog, it was a really rainy day, so he a lot of the shops and stuff were closed, so there weren't a whole lot of people. Well, you know, it's raining, so there weren't a lot of people out and about to talk to. But there were a lot of food vendors out on the street. So he said what he was going to do yesterday, instead of going to his normal restaurants where he would always go to eat, he was just going to buy stuff from the food stalls, and he was going to try and get stuff that he had never had before and didn't know what it was. And he was going to buy it and eat it without finding out what it was first. And it was pretty funny. He definitely had some major fails when it came to finding stuff to eat. He bought this one thing that kind of looked like a taco, and he said it was like eating, I don't, his grandmother's carpet. He said that's what it reminded him of, is his grandmother's carpet wrapped in cardboard. So, oh, thank you. Thank you, Lana. I appreciate you getting that link. Um, so yeah, his blog yesterday was pretty funny. Then he bought another thing that he didn't know what it was, and he thought that it was some kind of seafood, but he said it was like eating hair and a cow patty, which, I mean, that's pretty horrible. Then he got lucky and he bought these little tarts, and it was kind of funny because on the sign it actually said coconut tart, but it was these two little tarts. They were, you know, just about yay big around, and apparently they were coconut on the top, but then they had some kind of fruit jam on the inside, and he said those were actually really good. So that was kind of his last thing that he got for the day. I think he managed to get the taste of the hair and cow patties out of his mouth. Okay, baby, I hope you have a wonderful day. Enjoy church. And then there's one more channel that I've been watching actually for a couple of years, but unfortunately the content creator passed away back in March of this year. His channel was called, or is called, because they have not taken the channel down. His channel is called Desert Drifter, and yesterday it came up in my feed. They had released part of his last hiking trip that he went on before his car accident that ended up killing him. He was such an amazing person. I mean, he just had the most peaceful spirit, and he was so respectful of the areas that he hiked into. He mainly hiked in the desert Southwest, and he would hike into very remote areas and find where the indigenous peoples had lived. He would find like walls of pictographs and places where indigenous peoples had lived, had their camps and things like that. And he was always so respectful of the places that he hiked. He didn't disturb anything that he found. If he found potsherds, you know, he'd pick it up long enough to show it on camera, but then he would put it right back down and just leave it right where he found it. So, yeah, he was a really, really awesome content creator. And when he passed away, it was just a really, really sad day. I mean, just the fact that he had the accident and, you know, never was conscious again before he passed. It was horrible. And I felt so bad for his wife, Evelyn. She was a sweetie too. But yeah, Andrew, Desert Drifter, was amazing. Yes, he was young. In fact, I don't think they even had any kids, if I'm not mistaken. But I was thinking about it and thinking, you know, how strange life is that here he was doing solo hikes out in all this remote backcountry, and, you know, dangerous places. I mean, he did rock climbing and stuff like that. And, never an inkling that he would be more or less killed on his way home from one of his hiking trips. I mean, that's just kind of hard to fathom. So yeah, that was it was a beautiful video, of course, because all of his videos were, um, but at the same time also very hard to watch. And from what I understand, there's still going to be another one yet to come out. Um, this was only like the one they released yesterday was only part of the footage that he had gotten on his last trip. So they're still going to release another one yet. So yeah, that was. So yeah, those are my, well, 3 of the channels that I watch. Now I know, yes, his car was unrecognizable as a vehicle, actually. Um, he had a drunk driver slam into him from the rear, and it pushed his car across the intersection into a building. And yeah, you basically could not tell it was a vehicle anymore. So it's actually kind of amazing that it didn't kill him right away. Um, but yeah, they had him in the hospital for quite a while on life support, but it kind of became pretty evident that he wasn't ever going to come out of the coma, and so they made the decision that it was time to let him go, which has got to be the worst decision in the world to have to make. Yeah, Tank, that's yeah, pretty horrible. I do not know what happened to the driver that hit him. I don't know if he survived it or what. I would imagine if he did survive it, he's probably, if not in prison, is going to be facing a lot of prison time. I can't see how it would be otherwise. Jail? Okay. Who overslept? Okay, well, that's okay, Magic Frog. You know, if you need sleep, you need sleep. I kind of slept in this morning myself, so don't feel bad. I didn't get out of bed until about quarter after. Oh, it wasn't his first offense. Oh my God. Well, then yeah, he'll be going away for a while then. Good. And then there's another channel that I have been watching for a while now. I kind of had stopped watching them because I had kind of caught up on all their past content, and I was just giving them a little time to build up some new content. But their channel is basically Matt and Julia, and it's a young couple. He's British and she is Russian. In fact, she was born and lived quite a bit of her life in Siberia. And they do a travel vlog, and they go all over the place. It's pretty cool. They do some really nice videos, and their videos have really improved over the years that they've been doing it. So they're kind of fun. They're a really cute couple, and they are fun to watch. And then, of course, the other young couple that I really love to watch, Billy and Keely. Well, looks like Magic Frog stole her crown. She snuck in and stole it. Thank you, Lana. You are awesome for posting all these links to channels. I appreciate you a lot for that. Philly and Keely, they're a young Irish couple. And, you know, first of all, it's fun to watch them just because of their accents. But also, it's really fun to watch them because they are traveling in a very old RV, which I believe they purchased. When they first came over to this side of the world, they landed in Canada, and I think they purchased the RV that they're using up in Canada, and then drove on down here to the States. Now, it was kind of funny because the first day that they were driving here to the US was when Trump first started all the flack with Canada. And they were so sure that they were going to get turned away at the border. But they did go through some pretty rigorous interviewing, but they did manage to get into the United States, and they have been doing their traveling around the states. And it's really neat because they are going some beautiful places, needless to say, but it's so fun to watch from their point of view because they both have such a childlike sense of wonder about them. So yeah, they're just, it's really fun to see stuff through their eyes. It kind of makes, even if you've been someplace before and it's kind of old hat, or even if you've seen other people do travel videos of that same place, just watching them discover it is so fun. Especially Keely, when she gets excited, she's a hoot. So yeah, lots of fun. And then of course there is one of my all-time favorites that I know that you probably heard me mention before, but I'm going to mention her again because I just love her channel, and that is Itchy Boots. If you haven't heard me mention her before, she is a solo motorcyclist, and she basically goes all over the world on her motorcycle by herself. And it is pretty amazing. She has had some bad things happen to her along the way. Never any physical attacks on her or anything, but she has had her bike stolen. Itchy Boots. But yeah, she does manage to find really good people along the way, and whenever she has needed help, she has, managed to get people to help her. So, of course, the fact that she's a young, blonde, very pretty woman probably doesn't hurt her chances for getting help, but yeah. In one of her last season, I think it was before this one, she was traveling around Africa, and what kind of ended her season there was she had fallen and broke her collarbone, I think it was, really badly. So she ended up, some people came along that happened to be, I think one of the persons that came along was a doctor. So they got her in the vehicle, got her to a hospital, and, started working on getting her treatment. But she ended up going back home and having to have some surgery. Well, in the process of the surgery, they nicked her lung and collapsed her lung. So she had actually gone home not knowing that her lung was collapsing, but started having trouble breathing. So she went back to the hospital and found out that during the surgery they had screwed up and nicked her lung. So she ended up being in the hospital for a while behind that, and then had quite a bit of recovery time before she could get back out on a bike. But this most recent season, she has been traveling around Southeast Asia, and her ultimate goal is Japan. But these last few weeks she's been traveling around through Pakistan, and now she is in Afghanistan. She just crossed the border. So good morning, Tammy. Good to see you. Good morning, Lori. How are you feeling today? Oh, so you guys, today I am going to have to keep things right at an hour. I have got to go do grocery shopping, my least favorite day of the week, but my husband does appreciate eating, so I've got to go get some food. And I haven't even made a list yet. I have no idea what I'm getting. So got to sit down and figure that out, look at the sales, see who's got what on sale, plan what I'm going to go get and where I'm going. And that will probably be my day, because once I go and wander around grocery stores for a few hours, that pretty much puts an end to my activity for the day. My right knee is already being a booger, so I know it's going to be absolutely screaming by the time I get home from shopping. If I were smart, I would plan my menu and plan what I needed to get and just have the hubby go get it. But he doesn't shop like I do, so I really prefer to go do the shopping. You know, Marianne, if I was smart, I would go. My local grocery store that I really like has Senior Day on Wednesday, and they do a 10% discount. So if I was smart, I would go over there and shop on Wednesday. But I kind of like to just go ahead and get all my shopping out of the way at one whack. So I probably won't be doing that. So oh, Magic Frog, that really is hard. You know, speaking of substituting, there's this one kind of mayonnaise that I really like, and it's always in the Hispanic foods aisle, and it's by the McCormick brand, and it's called mayonesa, and it's made with lime juice. So I was at the time getting all my groceries delivered, because it was during COVID and I had my mom that I was taking care of, so I wasn't going out to the grocery store. And I put mayonesa in my grocery order. So when I got my groceries, I had a jar of Hellmann's mayonnaise and a bottle of lime juice. How they thought that was a substitute for mayonnaise made with lime juice. I don't know, but that's what they substituted. I just cracked up. Lana, I do plan a menu, but basically I just write down, several days worth of food. I don't really plan out exactly what day I'm going to do it. So it kind of gives me a little freedom of choice. I'll just look at the menu and say, okay, I'm going to do this for today. And, then I get that meat out of the freezer or whatever. Um, yeah. So, yeah, anyway, I should get off of here and go plan my grocery list and get out and do the shopping before it gets too busy out there. I like to try to get out and get it done and beat the after church crowd. So, yeah, that is my task. Well, I hope all of you that are going to go back to bed, I hope you have a fantastic rest. And for everybody else, I hope that you are having a beautiful Sunday and that you get to spend time with your family, do what makes you happy. And I will see you. I plan to see you next Saturday. Who knows? I may pop in during the week for a midweek live. Never can tell. Just whenever I get the bug to do something. So you may see me pop in during the week, but definitely I will be back next Saturday and chat with you all again. So I hope you all have a wonderful and peaceful week. Good morning, Arity. I'm saying goodbye though. I'm sorry. I don't do 2-hour lives like Camille. I'm too old and stiff to sit here for 2 hours, so. But you can definitely watch the replay if you want to, or not. But if you would, I'd love it. And anybody who has not left their thumbs up yet, I would appreciate it if you do. And if you're not subscribed to me, if you're new here, I really appreciate you coming in and spending time with us. And I hope that you will go ahead and subscribe to the channel and come back and visit again. So I am going to say goodbye for now, and I hope that you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Saturday. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.